Welcome to News Laundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. News Laundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a News Laundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta, the last of the year. So a very happy new year in advance to everybody, and also very happy Guru Gobind Singh Jayanti. Today is Guru Gobind Singh's birthday and he is one of my heroes. So I have put up that quote of his yet again on my Twitter. So before we get into the headlines, let me introduce our panel today. Joining us on the phone line from Bombay is Sumit Chauhan. Hi Sumit.
Hi Abhinandan. Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you for joining us. Let me just introduce you to our audience. Most of our audience is already well versed with Sumit's work. Many of you have watched him on the Media Rumble. He spoke there and many of you have given very good feedback. He is the founding editor of the Shudra Media and the Newsbeak. Is that a typo or is that Beak?
Yeah, it's Beak, the Newsbeak.
The Newsbeak. He's an Ambedkarite journalist and anti-caste activist. He's been active in journalism for almost 10 years. He has in the past worked with ABP News, Z News, India News and News Nation. So he's done a fair bit of time in the legacy media as well. Now he's trying to establish the national Bahujan media to strengthen the marginalized sections of society through journalism. Also, recently you had an event here in Delhi, right, Sumit?
Yes, we actually believe that we need to train our own people because most of the Bahujan media persons, they are not professional. So we give them a classroom training of journalism, basic principle of journalism, how to report, how to anchor, how to behave. So it was a training session actually for our Bahujan community journalists.
Chalo, that's fantastic. Also joining us on the phone line from Chennai is Jayashree. Hi Jayashree.
Hi.
And in the studio is Manisha Pande.
Hello.
And I am Abhinandan Sekhri, and we shall be discussing a bunch of things with a macro lens because this is the last hafta of the year, things that need to be discussed. But before that, let's get the headlines from Jayashree.
Yes, here are the headlines for the week. So one of the biggest stories of the year ended last week with Prannoy and Radhika Roy selling most of their NDTV shares to Gautam Adani. The Adani group will now take control of NDTV. The Bharat Jodo Yatra has finally entered Delhi. I think Rahul Gandhi visited the memorials of former prime ministers, including Vajpayee. However, the Congress has raised some security concerns, but says the government has said it was all as per protocol. 8 people died and several others were injured on Wednesday in Nellore district of Andhra Pradesh during a stampede at a public meeting that was addressed by Chandrababu Naidu.
In fact, they've announced a compensation package also today, right?
And what triggered it?
There was just pushing and shoving. They fell into a drain apparently. So there was like an open drain.
Oh.
So because of everyone trying to get close to where he was, people fell into the drain, and I think maybe drowning or just physical impact, I guess.
Yeah, it was during a road show. So it was not, so they were trying to push towards the vehicle or something when he was going past, and then they fell into the sewage drain.
Oh God.
Yeah. The NIA today conducted raids at 56 locations in Kerala, which are allegedly linked to the Popular Front of India. BJP MP Pragya Thakur on Sunday urged Hindus to keep weapons in their homes. So now an FIR has been registered against her in Karnataka. I think she said at least keep knives used to cut vegetables sharp.
Yeah, and of course, there was a defense of her speech by Op India, which fascinatingly said that what she has said, there's nothing wrong. She's just saying that we should be ready for self-defense, and basically criticizing her is asking Hindus to get killed without resisting. Like, I don't know what battle is happening in their head that all this is, but yeah, it's that's where we are.
I mean, her entire political existence and her career is like a middle finger to minorities.
Yeah, actually.
What can you say about somebody who went to jail for masterminding allegedly a bomb blast, then goes on to become an MP? This is why she was elected.
Yeah.
Oh, in other news, the Central Board of Film Certification Chairperson Prasoon Joshi has said today that changes have been recommended to the songs from upcoming Hindi movie Pathan. I think they haven't said exactly what those changes are.
Well, actually, even as we record this, which is 3:10 p.m. afternoon on Thursday the 29th, they have asked for the removal of a 20-second clip from the song Besharm Rang. Then they have asked for lyrics change of another song. And then they have asked for certain edits in some of the fight sequences because they are apparently too violent.
So 20-second cut is what I really want to know.
Probably
Bikini
the
is
bikini,
gone,
I'm guessing.
Manisha.
I'm guessing.
He also said Indian culture is very glorious and nuanced.
Who?
And that's
Prasun
why these
Joshi?
changes should be made. Yeah, in the same statement about these changes, he's complimented Indian culture and faith. The union government owes more than 8,300 crores to states and union territories in payments under the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. This is according to official data. Both houses of parliament have been adjourned 6 days ahead of schedule. In news from Uzbekistan, Uzbekistan's health ministry has said 18 children in the country have died after consuming a cough syrup produced by an Indian pharmaceutical firm.
And this follows a similar
It's a Noida-based firm.
allegation by another, allegation against another. It wasn't the same company. Where I think in Gambia, over 60 children died, right?
This one is Mario Biotech.
Yeah. But my entire thing with this is that I feel like it's undeniable that Indian manufacturing sort of changed the face of global healthcare for the good, right? Like with patent laws in the 1970s, like rise in generics had mitigated some of the evils of like free market pharma. But I feel at the end of the day, there's so much unscrupulous business, so much lack of regulation. So right now it's like this entire crisis of credibility. And also you hit your head on the wall to get data.
Yeah.
And Amit Malviya is now on Twitter educating people on why these deaths have happened, which is just so absurd.
Really?
Yeah, he put up some tweets. I think because Jairam Ramesh had tweeted about Uzbekistan.
Yeah,
So
Jairam Ramesh had said that Made in India is getting a bad name.
So the next headline, former Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh has been released from jail. He spent a year in jail in connection with a corruption case registered by the CBI. In Uttarakhand, a group of Christian missionaries were attacked on Friday after allegations of purported forced conversions. In another case in UP, the police have issued a notice to the Chancellor and Vice Chancellor of a Christian institute, also alleging unlawful religious conversions. Also in Uttar Pradesh, a teacher was arrested for hurting religious sentiments after government school students recited a poem by Iqbal during morning assembly. And the teacher was also sacked.
And this song is sung regularly in every single school in Dehradun every week. Anyway.
The Indian Coast Guard has intercepted a Pakistani boat off the coast of Gujarat. It had 10 crew members carrying arms, ammunition, and 40 kilos of narcotics worth 300 crores. In Telangana, the High Court has transferred to the CBI the case pertaining to alleged attempts to poach 4 Bharat Rashtra Samiti MLAs. I think they accused the BJP of offering large amounts of money.
Right.
So, also in the CBI, Videocon Group founder Venugopal Dutt has been arrested in a fraud case involving ICICI. This is days after they arrested the Kochars as well. The Maharashtra Assembly on Wednesday passed the Lok Yukta bill. It brings all cabinet members, including the Chief Minister, under the ambit of an anti-corruption ombudsman. The border row is also continuing in Maharashtra. Uddhav Thackeray said on Monday that the centre should declare what he calls Karnataka-occupied Maharashtra areas as a union territory. The Assembly has also passed a resolution saying the government will pursue all necessary legal measures to bring every inch of Marathi-speaking regions along the border within the state's limits. In the US, a major winter storm has swept through the country. The toll has risen to 50. And China's National Health Commission on Sunday stopped publishing daily COVID data. This is as the country is reporting a significant surge in COVID cases.
You had a rant on it.
I do have a rant about it.
Okay, we shall get to it then. We shall discuss this.
Yeah, it's a very small rant, a kuti rant. In Nepal, former Maoist guerrilla leader Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachanda has been elected the next prime minister.
For the second time. He was earlier also prime minister.
And that's the headlines.
Right, so those are the headlines. Let's get into the discussions.
No matter whether it is NDTV or Aaj Tak or any other media organization, we only look at the media that how much coverage or the issues they have covered related to the Bahujan community, especially the SC/ST OBC minority issues. So with this context, we say that NDTV is different from other media organizations because whatever they are doing is in sense of the anti-Modi sentiment only. Like they are earlier when Ravish Kumar was there, the Pranav Roy and her wife, his wife was there. So they were, talking about the government policies, Godi media, what is the Indian media is doing. They were raising some kind of issues, which is in sense the anti-Modi sentiment. We call it anti-Modi sentiment, but they have highly, covered the particular issues related to scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and atrocities. Unless and until we are murdered, we are raped, or we are, being killed by somebody, we are never in the headlines. We are never in the campaigns. We are never nowhere in the mainstream media. In these organizations, I never met with somebody, and as your report says that 90% of Indian media is controlled by the upper caste people only. So there is a structural issues actually when people are hiring, when people are giving chances to the new freshers journalists in their organization. So obviously they look at the surnames, they look at the caste, they can even, I know some of the people, those who have the similar experiences, that even their caste was directly asked by the management or the hiring authority. So I believe that they look at the caste when they are hiring and recruiting somebody for the news organization, because if it is not so, why are people are not there? Because I believe that Indian caste, Indian newsrooms are, exclusively caste clubs. They are, caste clubs where only entries to the same caste people are, given. We people are not allowed to enter in the exclusive caste club. This is my experience.
We do have diversity at the reporter level, but at leadership level, we still don't have the representation that we would like. And that's actually one of the challenges. Maybe I should ask you that we've got people, at young reporters, 3-4 year experience, freshers. But the question that is always asked to us is, why does your leadership team not have that? And we don't get any applications. That maybe it's because the problem you said, किसी ने 10 साल पहले hire ही नहीं किया, so you don't have anyone with 10 years experience. So, but the challenge is getting middle management. Even today, if you even try to look, it's a little hard.
I have seen that numbers of people were there in my newsroom who were, literally they were good for nothing, but they were appreciated all the time. They were given good hikes in salaries. So the experiences which, we get in mainstream media, most of our fellow journalists, my people, they leave mainstream media. They don't want to work for so long because it's really tough to survive over there. Because at fresher level it is fine, you're getting something, a salary or whatever, and somehow you survive. Because the moment you start making your own decision, you are on senior positions and you are on boards for selecting stories or the coverage issues or some particular decision making thing. So the moment they don't like you, they'll start harassing you. So I guess numbers of reasons are there which compel you to leave the mainstream media.
But do you also think like journalism historically pays really poorly and gets away with it? So do you think that's also a barrier to attract people to make newsrooms more inclusive, more diverse, because you're automatically attracting people who can afford to live on tiny salaries because they already have, like they come from positions of privilege.
Yeah, I think that is a very important point that just never gets talked about enough. Sometimes it's not even that aggressive, but it's just the conversations that happen in a newsroom. And I remember very clearly, and abhi to there's just so much conversation around it. 2009 when I joined, there's not even a realization among journalists, I'd include myself in it, that this is even something that I need to think of. Most of we call them cabin crew members. So basically you have a newsroom which is cubicles, and the cabins are senior management, which is all Banerjees, Bihari Brahmins, Bengali Brahmins, Tamrams, it's all Brahmins. I mean, forget any other caste, it's all Brahmins. And, you would have jokes. I remember one of my bosses, in fact, he, comes to the newsroom and he cracked this joke about his mother and, how his mother had told him that you can marry anyone you want, but you can't marry a Muslim and use this, a slur word. Now, he's cracking joke at his mother for being regressive. But in that newsroom, we do have someone, I knew that there was this one person who was from, marginalized community, and everyone laughed, and I actually looked at him and he didn't. And it's sometimes as insensitive and as unaware and as dense as that. And I think that for a lot of journalists from marginalized communities have had to face that. So leave alone very, in-your-face aggression. It's just that atmosphere in a newsroom which is so dominated by Brahmins, by upper caste, that there's this lack of basic sensitivity or even awareness that there could be someone in this newsroom other than from your milieu.
I think it's better if Sumit would answer, but anecdotally, I do have a couple of things to say. One is that when I was in journalism school, we had one of the top newspapers coming for hiring, an English newspaper. And it was very, so they would put out multiple lists. So the first list of people called for interview. Then based on that, they'd put out a second list, a third list. The first list had everyone who had a Brahmin surname, any upper caste surname. And then the second list was those left over who didn't make the cut. And the third was those who did not have upper caste surnames. And at interviews as well, the person who was doing the hiring would ask very specifically what your background was, what caste your parents were, where you grew up, because these were things that informed the basis on which they were making these hiring decisions.
You get that I'm coming from an ally's point of view. This is something that was articulated in the American experience by Samuel L. Jackson. Now, I both agreed and disagreed with him. He's become very successful and he's rich. So he says his thing was that I don't want to see everything through the racism lens. He says then no conversation moves anywhere. So just put that piece of information aside, and in my 20s when I was an activist, I used to find it interesting and sometimes frustrating that a lot of that time activism Delhi mein bahut active tha. There's no activism now, but there were RT activists, there were human rights activists, there were environmental activists, and we used to try to do workshops on all sorts of stuff together. Everyone used to come together and we used to meet, and everyone used to be arguing with each other. And I always used to wonder that we basically there are certain points of common ground, right? Why can't we focus on that instead of the environmental one telling the other one that no, your thing is only environment se iska kuch nahi hona, the human rights telling the gender wala bhai everything is not gender, and that led to a lot of loss of a lot of energy which could have actually been used as an alliance. How do you strike the balance, Sumit, that while of course your primary battle is caste, as it must be, because I think that is India's primary battle and it must be, but like the environmental ones used to say, agar environment nahi bachegi to apna caste ka kya karoge? There will be no one to live. How do you strike that perfect balance? And like Samuel L. Jackson said, that we can't see everything through that lens, but yet that prism has to be important enough for it to become in the center of the screen.
So you don't look at the caste every time, but when somebody ask about your name, पूरा नाम बताओ, Sumit Chauhan, कौन सा वाला चौहान हो, हमारे यहाँ तो चौहान ये लगाते हैं. This is the experience which I have gone through. Like at Z News, somebody was there, a Pande guy was there, was a shift in charge. He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Sumit." He said, "No, पूरा name Sumit Chauhan." He said, "मैं बिहार से हूँ, मेरे यहाँ पे चौहान तो बंगी लगाते हैं, तुम लोग कौन लगाते हो?" So he directly asked me, right? So I'm not telling about my caste. मेरा तो surname से पता भी नहीं चल रहा that he belongs to second caste. So वो तो Sumit Chauhan is like the upper caste for so many people. But they try to ask you. They follow you on your social media handles. They talk about reservation. They talk about any sensitive issue related to the caste. So they try to know your opinion on particular issues. So they try to get information about your caste. There are like experiences in US. You were talking about the race and other things. There was recently a story on BBC when somebody from the Dalit community guy is a professional. He narrated that उसके जो colleague हैं वो उसकी कमर पे हाथ मार के देखते हैं कि उसने जनेऊ पहना कि नहीं पहना.
I've read that. That's a way of checking
out caste, right?
Yeah.
They want to know. They inquire about your caste, and they want to, like the same guy was saying, they force him to go for a pool bath, and when you're naked, you're not wearing a shirt or something like that, so they can check out whether you are from Brahmin or the Janeeu wala category or not. So there are numbers of ways which these guys are applying. We are not showing them. हम अपने caste certificate गले में लगा के थोड़ा ही जाते हैं. We are not having the caste certificate like that and showing to everybody, okay, I belong to Chamar community, I belong to Bangi community. We are not doing it. We are entering in any newsroom as a journalist. We are, whether we are trainee, apprentice or something like that, we are learning. We want to grow as a professional. But in Indian newsroom particularly, whenever a story related to caste or anything is there, they start talking about.
I think every story does have a caste angle, whether we like it or not. Sumit had answered it pretty well. I think my basic point was that as people who don't go through these lived experiences, I don't know if it's fair or accurate for us to say that is everything being seen through caste. Is there instances where it might be set aside because we have no idea.
Right. All of you listening in, the Chhota Hafta, do subscribe so you can listen to the entire Hafta. We will see you again next week with the Hafta. Till then, subscribe, pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Thank you. Goodbye.
All the News Laundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to News Laundry. Help us keep news independent.
catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Sun liya Afrika, mufat khoro. Not to brag or anything, but News Laundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free. All News Laundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.